Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And actually, speaking of becoming Miss Texas, there's an awesome author who's really empowering a lot of women out there around the idea that vulnerability is power. Her name's Brene Brown. She's a University of Texas professor. Um, so let's get into that a little bit. How did you discover how being vulnerable, because it seems so opposite, right? Like being vulnerable, you feel like, oh, like I'm actually losing power. I'm putting myself out there to potentially be made fun of, to be ridiculed. Can you tell us a little bit about how you actually sharing, opening up, and being vulnerable led to you gaining power and gaining confidence and becoming more true and sure of yourself?
Sure. For me, when I started being vulnerable, I saw how much more relatable I was to other women and other males too, really everyone. Um, when you start sharing your story, then you start getting all of these people coming to you like, damn, like I've been there too, or I've gone through that too, please share your story. And when you have such an impact on others that you necessarily don't even realize. I never even realized I had that much of an impact on other people until I started getting messages from random girls and random women telling me how, me sharing my story and what I went through as a child helped them come out and talk about their obstacles in life. So really, it's just all about being relatable. That's all people want to see out of someone. It's like when I listen to podcasts or when I read a book or when I look up to a celebrity or whoever you look up to in your life, I want to see that they're relatable and that they've been through the same crap that I have.
Hmm.
Or not necessarily, maybe not the same exact stuff, but something similar, something that I can relate to.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
people want to see that nobody has the perfect life, right? Like
Exactly.
we identify with the imperfections in each other, which is kind of the irony of a lot of what we do in the world now is try to make everybody think we're perfect, right? With the perfect social media post, the perfect picture, the perfect dinner out, the perfect boyfriend, the perfect wife, whatever. When the flip side of it is people actually relate to your imperfections and
Right.
struggles.
Right.
So in an ideal world, Priscilla, you win all these things and you become the woman that little kids and especially little ladies are looking up to. And what would you tell them? What would be like, what would you say to any little girl out there that's looking up to you right now? What piece of advice would you share with them?
I would tell her that the job's just never finished. You have to continue to work hard in every single thing you do in life. And no matter where you are in life and how many things that you've succeeded in, don't think that it's done. Like you're that I did this and this is gonna, help me throughout the rest of my life. Just because let's say I win Miss Texas, that isn't the finish line for me. There's so much more ahead of so much more ahead of me that I want to accomplish. And it's important for young girls to focus on that, just to know that, the job is never done. You have to keep working at every single thing you do in your life.
Yeah, that perpetual progress, perpetual work. I love that, how you have that philosophy of that it's never done, it never finishes. So I'm curious, Priscilla, and I'm sure the listeners are curious. How did you even start that path and start that journey? Because it's such, to most people, right? It's a very foreign world. And I think most people have this idea of like, oh, it's just glamour and whatever the idea is for people, right? But so few people actually step onto that stage, actually wear those crowns. So can you take us back to whatever point in your life that you were either introduced to the pageant world and when you decided like, hey, I'm going to go for Miss Houston and I'm going to do this. Tell us about that experience and how that journey unfolded for you.
Sure. So I've been modeling since I was a little girl. That was always a passion of mine. It's something that I was good at. And I wanted to do something that was a little more outside of my comfort zone, but at the same time in the same industry. So I looked into pageantry and was watching, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Miss Universe, but it's a huge pageant and it's obviously from women all around the world and they compete for that title as Miss Universe. So I looked at that and I saw just how these women have really grown as individuals and what they represented and just their whole brand as an individual. And I saw that and I'm like, okay, maybe I can try that, or maybe I can take, some steps to get to that point. So I was introduced to this pageant industry here in Texas by a mutual friend. And it was so random for me because I thought pageants were exactly what everyone else thought it was, which is that glitz and glamour and just, I don't know, all the things that really Miss Houston and Miss Texas isn't. And as soon as I started that journey, I realized all of this. I saw that it was so much more than just putting on that crown and sash and looking pretty. It was really all about self-development and knowing how to brand yourself and carry yourself with grace. Because I think, with everything going on in this world, we kind of get lost. And it's just important to be an example for our youth and be that motivation for someone. And that's what I care about most, is just being that right example and motivating young women to just be themselves. And when you do that, like, there's opportunities are endless.
Yeah, I
I
love
love.
that you mentioned grace. That's a word that resonates with me a lot in today's world. So what does that mean to you when you say stuff going on in the world and to carry yourself with grace? What does that look like to you to be graceful?
I feel like we all have opinions on what's going on in the world, right? And it's important to make sure that you speak on these certain opinions with grace. Everyone's just I feel like everything is so scattered brain right now. Like, it's chaos, it's chaotic. And when you understand how to carry yourself with grace, then you're able to deal with these situations in a better way, I guess you can say. And that, for me, it took time. Like, before, when I think about it's hard to talk about this because it's such a sensitive topic, I could say. I mean,
Mhm.
everything that's going on, it's shitty, right? It's crazy, but at the same time, you have to know how to just kind of take a step back and know your place. So for me, it's just, I put that with everything that I do in life, is carry yourself with grace. Don't act with emotions. Don't act, based on anything that's thrown your way.